Panayiotis. I'm a publisher and journalist based in Athens. I would like to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Safeen Ghafour. Is Senior Advisor to the Deputy Prime Minister of Kurdistan region. Dr. Panayiotis Hadjipavlis, Defense Director in Cyprus, in Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Cyprus. And my old friend, Mr. Christodoulos Protopapas, Managing Director of HellasSat. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of all speakers, I would like to thank Simeon Tsomokos and Delphi Forum for the invitation and for their assistance. Our section is about strategic innovation for the future. Our time is limited, so I'd like to move directly into our discussion. I suggest to be open discussion. Everyone wants to to say something. He can take the order. So our world is changing rapidly. We have tectonic changes, especially after the election of Donald Trump. Do you believe that Trump effect will reshape international relations? Also, do you believe that innovation, technology, and AI will reshape geopolitical balances in the new era? Is there any future for states and nations that cannot follow these developments? Mr. Hadjipavlis.
Thank you, Mr. Mouroutis, distinguished audience. Firstly, allow me in my turn to extend a warm welcome to all the participants of this great event, and to also thank the organizers for inviting me to participate in this prominent forum and discuss my views for strategic innovation with such esteemed personalities. Emerging technologies constitute a strategic advantage of everyone that masters, controls, and has deep knowledge on how to deal with them and exploit all their key qualities. Through the history of mankind, the advanced technologies, be either the invention of special battleship building, the steam engine, or more recently in the 20th century, the transistor and semiconductors, conductors have contributed to the change of geopolitical balance in two main ways. Firstly, as I have just mentioned, emerging technologies are factors and tools of power, whereas geopolitics, in very simple words, is how the countries which remain the predominant political entity in the international scene act politically and are influenced by geography and vice versa. As the political power is a crucial element to the formation of geopolitics, and as emerging technologies are critical factors for determining these powers, then you realize how much important these technologies are as regards geopolitics. Thus, they affect the power relation between countries, whereas those who acquire them have a significant political sway. On the other hand, these technologies to be built and maintained need specific raw materials. As hydrocarbons have been very essential during the 20th century and still are, in our era of mass digitalization, strategic ores are quintessential for the new regions for the fabrication of these emerging technologies and their proper equipment. Therefore, new regions rich in strategic ores and rare earths are getting more important geopolitically, while others are weakening. By virtue of this, the world geopolitical balance shifts. On the other hand, the scrabble among global and regional powers for these raw materials, such as gallium and cobalt, to name but a few, is indeed frantic. This quest eventually creates rivalries and political frictions which end up in armed conflicts affecting the global geopolitical situation. Lastly, I would like to stress another dimension of these emerging technologies. Their immense contribution in the expansion of geopolitical space as both a medium and a tool where political interaction takes place. Today, due to the exploitation of these technologies, there are already 6 distinct spaces where countries interact. And we have to have this in mind, please. So the first one was land. Then we moved into sea, air, and this is because of technologies, outer space, cyberspace, and then we have, nowadays, cognitive space or cognition. This advancement opens up new fields for political interaction and certainly reshapes the geopolitical balance.
Thank you. The question is common, so Mr. Ghafour, you have the...
Thank you very much. Good morning,
Welcome.
everyone. To be honest, I don't believe that it will create a big effect on geopolitics. The superpower nations will try to keep their positions. We'll try very hard to keep their position, to remain the main actors, as we see now with the United States and China. For the, let's say, smaller nations, we're throughout, let's say, the recent advancements of technology, we've been consumers of technology. However, as we will see that smaller nations are more agile, can be leapfrog, and can adapt faster to the new technologies. But the biggest effect, or let's say the threat of staying behind, will be Europe, especially. We see now with the major advancements in the last decennia, Europe is more of a consumer than a producer of these technologies, especially on adaptation on corporate level. So, George, that's my answer to your question.
Let me have a follow-up question. Do you believe that new technologies such as AI can transform also military strategies globally and locally?
Yes, of course, but that's a, let's say, a fact. I mean, it's a further further development of existing. It helps to improve the existing technologies. It makes it maybe faster, cheaper, more, and also smarter. But as if AI as is will not create this disruption. It improves further. I mean, it's a different story than, let's say, when the technology is ready to use bionics and more, let's say, brain-computer interfaces, then we are talking on a different level. But when also the, let's say, technology acceptance, we as humans, we are not there yet to adopt these technologies fully.
Mr. Protopapas, the same question. You have the privilege to invest in this area, so you are experts of this table.
Thank you very much, George. I would like also from my side to thank the organizers of the Delphi Forum for the invitation and for the consideration of my presence here. Actually, Trump effect benefit Europe and the space and also the defense industries of Europe, because Europe now and European Union is focusing to exploit the know-how and the advantage of the innovation of the space and defense industrial ecosystem in space and defense ecosystem of Europe. From our side, as HellasSat, we are one of the 4 satellite operators in Europe. The other 3 is Hispasat, Eutelsat, and SES. We have 3 satellites now. We have 2 orbital slots. We are now in the process to design the new satellite with the innovative technologies, with optical satellite communications, with quantum trusted communications. And this is very important because now European Union and European countries, they want to develop their own innovative technologies for defense and space. And it was a very wise decision to include under the one commissioner, the space and defense of European Union. Space and defense are going together, and defense is using space from the last 3-4 decades. But it would be much more important now, the role of space, because we need space and satellite communications with the new technologies in the world theaters. We need satellite communications to govern and telecommand drones. We need artificial intelligence to program drones to be self-supporting and to attack to the proper targets. We need very secure communications that could be controlled in the European Union ground and in the European Union territory. And also the European countries now, they are thinking of launching their own satellite. Germany, for example, Netherlands, Poland, they express their interest now to launch their own satellite. Greece has the privilege to have its own national operator. We are operating our satellites from 2001, and we are one of the best satellites in the world in financial performance. We have only 55 engineers in Cyprus and Greece, while the other satellite operators, they have more than 150. And this gives us the advantage to operate the company in a very effective way. And now we are designing the new satellite that will have optical communications, and the design and the manufacturing of this satellite will be in cooperation with big European space and defense companies. So we will have some news to announce after Easter about these developments, but we are in the loop, and we would like to thank President Trump for his policy, because he helped the European defense and space industry.
How many countries do you serve as countries, as governments, as administrations?
HellasSat?
Yes.
In more than 30 countries, because we are covering Europe, Middle East, and South Africa.
Perfect. So let me follow the... Please, Mr. Hadjipavlis.
Yeah, please, if I can comment a little bit about the geopolitical shifts, because this depends upon the time span that we are looking. Actually, the history is not 30 years or 100 years. The history of mankind is 1,000 years, and empires have passed and passed away, actually. So in less than 150 years, we have, of course, a geopolitical change. We have the British Empire, we have Europe that was dominated the world, and after the Second World War, because exactly of the emerging technologies, America, then the US, then become the, let's say, the dominant power of the Western world. We had, in less than 100 years, a bipolar world, then a unipolar world, and now we are moving exactly because of these emerging technologies into a multipolar world. So what I'm actually supporting and maintaining and stressing actually is that we have to look the history back and the future into a more broad time span in order to be proactive. And as more countries we have to take into advantage what is happening with emerging technologies, and of course, develop these skills and qualities.
So if I may respond, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, but I don't see with the current, let's say, the world scene that a change would come from another nation than the existing powers. Because, I mean, they have the power to invest even more. However, there will be more, we will see the non-state actors will become more active, especially big corporations. They will dominate the politics. But as shifting in international geopolitics, I mean, geopolitical balance, I mean, there is no balance, the geopolitics. I mean, in that scene within, let's say, as a result of these advancements in technology, I do not expect a big change because the smaller, let's say, smaller nations do not possess or have the capacity of capabilities to cope with the big corporations. And of course, research, very important. Europe is leading a lot of research on this, on let's say, cryptos, on algorithms. But if you do not put it into use, do not monetize, commercialize, we will remain consumers of these technologies.
Because the talk of Europe, let me ask something different. Let's talk about values. So, do you think that the rapid increase of defense investments, especially among EU countries, do you think that technology, innovation, and AI have become prerequisites for maintaining freedom and democracy in the whole world, especially in the era of our era, the Southeastern Europe?
Can I?
Yes,
of course. Thank you very much. So, based on what has been mentioned before, emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum computing, and communications have become essential elements of today's state-of-the-art defense systems. Thus, their mastery is indispensable for a capable and credible defense structure in every country. Firstly, allow to differentiate a little bit from your position that investment in defense, cutting-edge technologies, take place or may occur potentially at the expense of sustainable development, green strategies, and social policies. Investment in defense is and has to be considered as a development investment and certainly can take place in parallel with all the others or affecting all these aspects in a positive way. Let me explain that within the European Defence Agency, there are teams dedicated to the adaptation of defense equipment to green strategies and requirements. However, this is not at all the whole picture. Defense investment constitutes a prerequisite of sustainable development and, in turn, the application of social policies by the states. Peace, progress, and prosperity, and thus democracy and freedom for our Western civilization is primarily and definitely dependent upon defense and security, because without these two quintessential values, the others could never happen. Today's societies, and especially we, the Europeans, have been long complacent as we have considered security, peace, and freedom as given, an eternal certainty. However, the Russian war against Ukraine abruptly awakened us from the lethargy of this utopia. As a retired Air Force colonel, I always remind to my interlocutors the ancient Roman dictum, si vis pacem para bellum, meaning if you want peace, prepare for war. In addition to that, defense investment, especially in cutting-edge technologies, contributes horizontally to the development of the whole society because the defense domain touches upon all the aspects of economic and social activities. In this respect, we should not realize defense issues in the very narrow-sighted view of only weapon systems. Instead, the defense domain spans from hospitals and healthcare to pharmaceutical R&D to new methods of logistics and transportation, to communications, and last but not least, being very important in our era, space applications, and as Mr. Protopapas mentioned before. Thus, defense investments and development could contribute vastly to a country's economy and also to social coherence by increasing employment rates and reducing brain drain, especially for the small countries. Very briefly, to recap and conclude, defense investment, especially in new technologies, constitute a prerequisite for freedom and independence, while as new challenges emerge, we have to be able to act in all the geopolitical spaces I mentioned before. So, apart from territorial sovereignty, we also have to bear in mind digital sovereignty. And of course, private investment should take place hand in hand with state investment within the established regulations and follow not only the law, but also the ethics of our civilization.
Mr. Protopapas, let me ask you if you believe that democratic values are under threat, and what is the role of the companies and the technology industry in this new?
Democratic values always they are under threat. It's not only in this period of the history. HellasSat, when we launched the first satellite, our slogan, and we continue to have this slogan, is bridging cultures in space. It is very important to have dialogue and to have communication with cultures, with people, with nations. And through these communications and through these personal relations, you can develop democracy and you can spread the common values, the common political values. I'm coming back from with your question regarding the innovation. It is very important now, European Union, to reverse the brain drain to United States, and also to have some constraints and some regulations regarding the export of technology to third countries. In contradiction with United States, European Union in the last 3 decades, but mostly in the last 2 decades, was funding projects and technologies to European technology companies. And finally, these European technology companies, they were selling this technology and the companies to third countries. And this is very important, without any constraint, without any legislation, without any burden from the European Union. This is very important because with this way, European Union can use and can exploit the brains of European Union. And it is very important to establish a new way of defense, the smart defense technology, using modern techniques with drones, not only with air, also with sea drones, unmanned vehicles, also using artificial intelligence to withstand in the cyber war that is coming with the quantum computers, from superpowers, with developing of quantum trusted networks like other countries in the world. European Union has to have a specific policy and precise policy regarding the development of space and defense industry. And it is very important to have this policy as soon as possible because the Q-Day is coming. We were expecting to have the Q-Day after 2030, but with the new developments, the Q-Day is before 2030. Q-Day is the day when the quantum computers will break the existing encryption, the existing conventional encryption. So we have to be careful and we have to move very fast.
Mr. Ghafour, about the values of democracy and freedom, under threat because of new technology, AI, and the investments of the powerful powers.
My friend said democracy is always been. I mean, it's a fragile
Also
thing.
freedom.
Also
freedom.
freedom. Shouldn't be taken for granted. It's a fragile thing. It's a common value that we need to defend all over the world. I mean, the source of data that feeds the AI systems. I mean, we all need to be careful about it. The organizations, governments, that they will control the truth. The AI the feedback that you get from the new technologies will be by definition biased by the type and the quality of data we feed into it. So that's one of, not only on ethical, but also, as I said, controlling the truth and the source of data will be a dangerous, let's say, phenomenon in the upcoming era.
Thank you. And our final round. It's a privilege for me to talk with three visionaries. I know your CVs, I know your way of thinking. So, how can you imagine the world after 30 years? Mr. Hadjipavlis.
Okay. Of course, there are studies. There are studies. I'm speaking from the aspect of defense. There are studies. As I mentioned before, the European Defense Agency is an agency that helps the member states to see in the future. It does a lot of horizon scanning, how the defense is going to be, the defense domain in 30 years. So what I have to say is that we have to take into account and take advantage the emerging technologies in order to actually survive as democracies and as countries. Of course, there is a debate upon the level of development. Is this a revolution or is this an evolution? In my opinion, I believe that this is an evolution. It's not a revolution. So if we believe that this is an evolution, we can go back to history and check and study how these evolutions of emerging technologies affected the geopolitical scene and learn from history. What I have to say as a conclusion is that Europe has to invest in these emerging technologies and in R&D in order to be, as actually it supports and it wants to be, a world player.
Thank you. Mr. Ghafour.
Yes. So let me do my more practical level. I think within 30 years, there will be no mobile phones as we know them anymore. There will be a new era of human enhancement technologies will rise. The human enhancement, especially on wearable human enhancement technologies with bionics, computer or brain-computer interfaces, and especially personalized AI bots that will function as an extension of human body and brain. And as my friend said about the cognitive sphere will be very, very important. But my prediction is that the way we use the mobile phone now is coming to an end, and there will be more, we will distance ourselves from carrying something, but it will be more attached to our let's say, physical existence.
Thank you very much, Christodoulos.
Technology-wise, in the next 30 years, we will have more computational power from quantum computers. This is very important. More artificial intelligence applications, and also more robotic applications. But speaking geopolitically, Greece and Cyprus will play a very important role in the future, in the next 30 years, because we are the crossroads of 3 continents, Greece and Cyprus. And using always geography is very important for a nation and for a country. And we will continue to play this role. And the people will ask again Greece for the common values of democracy, of politics, for the benefit of the citizens of the world. I think Greece will play a very important role in the future.
If we have time, I would like to ask you about the cable, about the cooperation between Israel, Cyprus and Greece. But Christodoulos gave us some things, food for thought for the next debate. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.